Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we bring you the most important and thought-provoking stories from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm glad you're joining us today. As we begin this episode, we want to take a closer look at a developing story that's been making headlines in recent weeks. The conflict in Gaza has been escalating, with reports of violence and humanitarian crises emerging daily. According to recent numbers, over 57,800 Palestinians have been killed in the conflict, with many more displaced or affected by the fighting. We've seen reports of civilians, including women and children, being caught in the crossfire, and the international community is increasingly calling for a resolution to the crisis. The Israeli military has been accused of firing on Palestinian civilians, including those attempting to access food distribution sites. The Gaza Health Ministry has reported that many of the casualties are civilians, but it's worth noting that the ministry does not differentiate between civilians and combatants in its count. On the other hand, Hamas-led militants have been accused of sparking the conflict with their attack on Israel last October, which killed over 1,200 people and led to the abduction of 251 Israelis. The situation is complex, with both sides accusing each other of provoking the violence. We've also seen reports of looting and lawlessness in Gaza, making it difficult for aid groups to distribute humanitarian assistance. The United Nations has warned of a looming famine in the region, and the first fuel shipment in 130 days has only recently arrived in Gaza. As we continue to follow this story, we want to hear from you. What do you think is the best way to resolve the conflict in Gaza? Should the international community be doing more to support humanitarian efforts in the region? We'll be exploring these questions and more in future episodes. For now, let's take a closer look at some of the personal stories emerging from the conflict. We've spoken to witnesses who described the scene at food distribution sites as chaotic and dangerous, with Israeli forces firing warning shots at Palestinians attempting to access aid. We've also heard from families who have lost loved ones in the fighting, including a Palestinian-American man who was killed by Israeli settlers in the West Bank. These stories are a reminder of the human cost of the conflict and the need for a peaceful resolution that takes into account the needs and concerns of all parties involved. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you updates as more information becomes available. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara. We're going to shift gears a bit now and take a look at some inspiring news from France. Today, we're celebrating the remarkable stories of two individuals who have been awarded France's top civic honor, the Legion of Honor. Gisele Pelicot, a 72-year-old French woman, and Pharrell Williams, the renowned rapper-turned-fashion designer, are among the 589 people who received this prestigious award. Gisele Pelicot's story is one of extraordinary courage and resilience. She bravely testified in court against her former husband, who had subjected her to mass rapes over a decade. Her testimony not only led to his conviction, but also sparked a national conversation about rape and consent in France. As a result, the country's rape laws have been reformed, and Pelicot has become an icon of feminism and a symbol of hope for survivors of sexual violence. Pharrell Williams, on the other hand, has made a name for himself in the music and fashion industries. As a rapper, singer, and music producer, he has collaborated with some of the biggest names in the business. His recent appointment as Louis Vuitton's men's creative director has been met with widespread acclaim, and his Paris show attracted a host of international celebrities. What's striking about these two individuals is their commitment to using their platforms for good. Pelicot's courage in speaking out against her abuser has inspired countless women to do the same, while Williams' influence in the fashion world has helped to promote diversity and inclusivity. As we celebrate the achievements of these remarkable individuals, we're reminded that honor and recognition can come in many forms. Whether it's through activism, artistry, or simply living with dignity and courage, We all have the power to make a positive impact on the world around us. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara. As we wrap up today's show, we're shifting our focus to the world of sports, specifically to the latest developments in European football. Our attention is on Juventus, a team that has been making headlines with its transfer moves and player contracts. Recently, there have been significant discussions around two key players, Dusan Vlahovic and Randal Kolo Muani. Vlahovic, the Serbian striker, has been at the center of speculation due to his reluctance to extend his contract with Juventus beyond 2026. This situation has sparked comments from former Juventus striker Darko Kovacevic, who advises Vlahovic to leave the club in search of new challenges that could potentially elevate his career. Kovacevic suggests that clubs like Milan and Manchester United could be good options for Vlahovic, emphasizing the importance of being a starter and reaching the top level. His comments come as Juventus is open to listening to offers for Vlahovic, indicating a potential shift in the team's strategy regarding its attacking lineup. On another front, Juventus is engaged in talks with Paris Saint-Germain to retain Randal Kolo Muani. The negotiations involve a proposed loan deal with an option to buy, which contrasts with PSG's preference for a permanent transfer valued between €40 and €45. This situation highlights the complexities of football transfers, where clubs must balance their financial interests with the need to strengthen their squads. It's also worth noting that Juventus has recently signed Jonathan David on a free transfer from Lille, further indicating the club's efforts to reshape its attack. The competition among strikers is seen as a positive by some, including Kovacevic, who believes it can drive players to perform better. As we conclude this segment, it's clear that the world of football is always dynamic, with player movements and contract negotiations being key factors in shaping the success of teams. Whether Vlahovic will find a new home and how Juventus will navigate its current transfer dealings remain to be seen. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay engaged. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay engaged.